Hey, business building warrior, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Today, I've got a guest. It's a guy who's been in our community for quite some time. We have a great conversation. I wish I'd had more time today. Kind of ran out of time and squeezed between a couple other appointments, but you're going to understand why as we dive into this. It's a gentleman who's entrepreneurial at heart. He's been in our community a long time. He shared a cool story towards the end of the episode today, actually, the way he came into our community. He was bouncing around and in some other communities, and someone mentioned, hey, the stuff we had going on over here, this is several years ago, he should look into it. So he emailed me, and I just gifted him the Proven Amazon course. I don't remember the conversation. We try to be generous around here all the time, and we hear from different people. He said, hey, yeah, you just gave it to me. And he was a little surprised by that. That's what we do here. We want to create success stories. That's the heart of this organization, is we just want to create success stories. So when I learned who he was, what he's up to, what he's trying to do, we gifted him the course, and off we go to a great story from someone who started off with vending machines, the candy machines in stores. It eventually drifted into e-commerce for very similar reasons that I did. And I actually had a candy vending route too, if you didn't know that. We talk about that today, as well as that's part of the story behind the title Silent Sales Machine, this podcast, and the best-selling book that sold about 1 million copies. I'll give you a free copy if you'd like. Go to silentjim.com/free11. That's the 11th version of the Silent Sales Machine book that's all about using the internet creatively to launch and grow these silent running machines, putting money in your pocket, serving happy customers, building a business you can be proud of and include your family in. That's what we do around here. That's what that book is about. silentjim.com/free11, version 11 of that book. Go check it out. But we dive into a little bit of that. But then we get into this tool that Quincy has built, and it's very unique. We don't bring on many vendors on the show to talk about the tools they've created. If they want to be a sponsor, they can sponsor the show. If they want to come to our events, they can buy a booth. That's kind of our approach to vendors. But this is a great opportunity to explore something that, to my knowledge, isn't being done anywhere else and has never been done before that I've ever heard. And it's a guy from our community. Basically, you can go to any of about 150 websites to source profitable inventory. And right on the website, right on walmart.com, right on Chewy, right on whatever website you're sitting on, you see the data you need to make a good decision about the stuff you're looking at right on the screen based on parameters that you set up for what you're looking for. And even any kind of discounts or credit back points or whatever you want to include into your actual price that you're going to pay is considered there, and it bounces it off of the Amazon data for that product. And you can know very quickly if you're looking at products that you want to be putting your money, investing in, basically. Pretty cool tool, great concept, and it expands so well, meaning we could have so many people using this tool and they're going to have completely different experiences with the tool based on their parameters, what kind of discounts they get at that store, that sort of thing. So I really enjoyed this conversation today, and I genuinely was learning with you today. I knew that Quincy had been to our event in Orlando. I knew that people were raving about his tool. I knew that a bunch of our coaches were talking about it with glowing reports. That caught my attention. I said, I need to learn about this tool. So instead of just calling the guy up and doing a demo and having a conversation, I captured that today with you listening in. So this is me getting educated along with you on a tool that I fully intend, as soon as I'm done here, to get to my team and say, start using this now. The link is silentjim.com/Q, just the letter Q, one letter. silentjim.com/Q. It'll show you the tools that he set up, introduce you to the discounts that he has for our community. And I think you're going to really like what you hear. We'll drop a few links and other resources on you throughout the show today. Those will all be in the show notes, so you don't have to take notes furiously. Just go to today's episode, and below the video or the audio, wherever you're listening to it, in the show notes, you'll see all the details. If you can't find them, go to silentjim.com/podcast. Look at today's episode. You'll see all the details that you need. Let's jump over and meet my new friend who's been around a while. I just hadn't talked to him before, Quincy Lynn. Enjoy. So welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio, Quincy. Good to see you, man.
Good to have you. Happy to invite me to be on the show.
Yeah. Hey, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to have you. Sounds like you do interviews as well. You're thanking me for being on your show. Hey, you can use this content as yours as well. That's great, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got to that point yet, but it's been amazing. It's always a learning process, right? And
Yeah.
I'm just glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you on board, man. And I'm looking forward to hearing your story. Admittedly, I don't know as much about you as I probably should at this point because I keep hearing your name pop up in a good way. Leaders on our team, coaches on our team, students who are saying, "Yeah, I'm using this tool over here. It's helping me out." And right off the top, I just want to make sure people are aware. I probably mentioned it in the introduction as well, but silentjim.com/Q, just the one letter Q. That's going to take you to a special page that Quincy set up for us today with some special discounts and deals on the tools we'll be talking about. But I want to start here with your story. You've got a background, you've got a story, e-commerce, and let's go into that.
Yeah, so that goes way back 2014. Back then, I had been working as a electrical engineer in the Silicon Valley for various company for 18 years.
Okay.
And back then, I was not really thinking about business, but what caught me by surprise is through an event that I did as a favor for my fellow engineer.
Okay.
So I live in California. So at that time, I was working for a startup company in the network storage area. And during lunchtime, they play badminton. There were a bunch of Asians, play badminton during the lunchtime.
Sure.
And
Okay.
then let me join you guys. And after a while, as you know, play badminton, you need to buy birdies, the shuttlecocks.
Yeah.
And those are expensive. Like a one tube 12, it costs like 15 back then, 10 years ago. So we kind of talk about it and said, let's do a bulk buy. And so need to pick someone to do that. And then say volunteer. So I'll become the guy in the middle, negotiate a bulk buy price with the badminton vendor, supplier.
That's
And then
great.
I would say, hey guys, I'm doing this for free, but I need to collect the cash up front.
Yes.
So that's what I did. I collect all the cash, pay the supplier, pick up the merchandise, put it in my van, get into the badminton club parking lot, open up, and then they just come and I distribute it. So over time, people are thinking, are you distributing drugs or something? Why so many people flock to your van,
You were a
right?
badminton shuttlecock dealer.
Exactly. So that's what I did. I did
Yeah.
it for free. And
That's
after a
great.
while, I kind of, based on word of mouth, I have like 50 customers, let's put it that way. They
Mm-hmm.
all come to buy shuttlecocks from me. And many of them, actually, I don't know. It is through the friend, word of mouth.
Yep.
And after a while, I was like, geez, even though I'm doing this for free, but it seems like that's what business is doing, right? I mean, you get
Yep.
the money, you buy the inventory, and then you distribute it.
Yep.
So from that point on, the concept about business starting to, you know, go around in my head. So I started looking for like a Inc. magazine, entrepreneur magazine, try to see what business can I do business.
Yep.
Now, thinking about it, that does no good. So I jumped into it. So actually, at that time, I purchased a book from someone from Los Angeles. It's called How to Start Your Candy Machine Business. It's a book I bought from Amazon. And
Okay.
I read through it to say, hey, that's easy enough. Let me try it. So I went on Craigslist and then looked for a specific candy machine based on the book. And then I went up to Petaluma and with a U-Haul van, one way going up, pick up 27 almost new candy machine, all disassembled. And then come back to the U-Haul, they give me 1 month free storage. So I put all the candy machine part in it, assemble, clean, and follow the instruction. Go to Costco, buy whatever candy they specify, and set up the machine and start cold calling individual mom and pop shop. Can I put a candy machine in your premises? It will help me to support a nonprofit organization. So
Yeah.
the whole thing, and long story short, I went all the way up to about 75 machines located across the San Francisco Bay Area.
Nice.
And that was the first time I realized I can do business, because every month I service the machine, I collect the quarters. Those are like a 3-slot candy machine. You
Yep.
put the quarter, turn the knob, you get
Yep.
a handful of candy.
Yep.
Every month I will have like 50-pound quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would drop onto the bank counter to say, okay, here's my income.
Yep.
And from that point on, the idea continued to come to my mind. So I have my kids. They say, hey guys, I have enough quarter. Help me to go through all of them, select them, clean them. I give you a bin I purchased from Home Depot. And because at that time we're looking for the sort the quarter by states. So all the different states in the US, the kids help me to sort them, put it into the little Home Depot bin. And then I purchased a gift book, like a 3-fold. I stuffed them with all the quarter for each state, put it back, sell on eBay, double the money. So my kids get the first lesson of running a business. I first experienced selling on eBay. So the next thing I was thinking, okay, what else I can do? I cannot imagine. I do candy machine all my life. So that's when I listened to a podcast by Pat Flynn, The Passive Income. And then just so happened in interview with the selling family back then, Jessica LaRue, and they teach
They came from our community. Yeah.
So, and then I purchased the course and follow the step-by-step guide, went to Walgreens, go to the end of the clearance aisle, get my first item, and that sold for $3, I think. And I was so excited. That's near the end of 2014. But I quickly realized RA is just not my thing. So I turned 100% to OA by 2015. And at that time, I joined the coaching program. My coach was Bob Wiley. And then he said that, hey, look, a lot of people are doing, at that time, the leadless is kind of still very new. And I was kind of looking at it. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I mean, online arbitrage, right? They can really help me. Can I do the same thing? So it was a joke. I met that person, the leadless owner, actually during this year's conference. I said, hey, can you teach me how to create a lead list? I don't know what I'm saying, right? The request was just like, oh, just completely rejected, right? So I said, okay, Bob, what can I do? And Bob said, hey, how about you starting a shoe lead list? Because nobody else is doing shoes. I said, okay, let me do shoes. So that's the beginning of selling shoes on Amazon. For me, back then, because it's a shoes and clothing, it's two separate category, right? It's a gated category. So I paid money to get ungated in both, and starting my VA team, and then starting the gated list back then. That's what it's called. And that's ever since then, all the way up to today, as you can see, it's called a quick list now. But that's how I started, from a seller to a service provider. But all this year, all the way up until today, I'm still very active as an individual seller. So now because I have the service, I have the software development, but I remain as active seller, but I have to limit my time. So I limit myself only 4 hours to run the whole selling business as an individual seller. So that's just like
That's
an overview of
a
what I'm
quick
doing.
recap. A couple observations about your story so far. I love your story. And there's more similarities between my story and yours than you might realize. This podcast is called Silent Sales Machine Radio. Do you know where that concept for the silent sales machine, it started off as a book and now it's a podcast. Do you know where that came from by any chance?
No.
Have you heard of, since you did candy vending machines, have you heard of the brand Silent Sales Force?
No.
That's a brand of candy machine. I had a candy machine route of about 40 units. A very similar story to yours. I know you get about $25 to $40 worth of quarters when you clean it out once a month or so, right? I mean, I did that for a while with my kids. And the company was called Silent Salesforce. And I found myself driving around and collecting the quarters. It was very profitable. I was never creative enough to slide each different state quarter into a sleeve and turn that, 50 quarters into
Yes.
$25 instead of $12.50 or whatever it is, right? I
Yeah.
never quite got that. That's awesome. But what I did do was learn, wow, it's pretty cool making money while I'm sleeping, right?
Hmm.
So I thought I want to set up more machines like this. I don't just want to have vending machines with candy and I want to have more machines. I want to use the internet as a machine. I want to use the internet as my own silent set of multiple income streams, silent sales machines, making sales while I'm doing other things.
Yes.
Of course, got addicted to eBay, which, eventually, and I was known as Mr. eBay for a few years because I started teaching everybody anything they wanted to know about all of it because I was so excited about it. And then that turned into the Amazon Proven Amazon course was birthed. Here we are still talking about silent sales machine radio. It started because I loved the name of that company, Silent Salesforce. I think they're still around. I'm like,
Oh,
I'm going to
wow.
use that name. I love it. So if the guys at Silent Salesforce candy machines are out there still, hey, thanks. I've went on to borrow part of your name to create a podcast and a book that's done very well. But the premise is just like with your story, Quincy. The same premise is I want to create automated income streams and I want to build systems and I want to serve others with excellence and I want to do life a little differently. I want to do it from home with my kids, involve them. That's
Mhm.
what's at the heart of this, and we live in a great time to be doing that. I love the names you're mentioning. These are all people that, I'm familiar with and have come through our community at some point. And this is an industry that's kind of matured over the years. And some people are brand new to it, but there's a lot of history here. I'm talking a couple decades at this point of really good people kind of paving the way into the tools and strategies that are now used and just kind of common knowledge. But a lot of hard work went into those things. So it's kind of a little walk down memory lane to hear you recount some of the stories and some of the things that led you to where you are now. But I didn't want to interrupt too much, but there was too much of an overlap in our stories for me to just let that slide. That's pretty interesting.
Actually, the you mentioned the link at the beginning /Q. So my name is Quincy, right? And then the because my first name in Chinese starting with a Q, but it doesn't come with a U like in English. So my church director, youth director, say, "Hey, why don't you call Quincy?" Because usually among Chinese, they don't use such a name. I say, "Okay, I'll take it." I don't know what happened, but just sound cool. And since then, I have used Quincy, and it just so happened, I have the quick list, the quick finds extension, everything starting with a Q.
All Q.
Yes. So, but for that, it's simply because I just want to get the domain name easily. Because if you have a QU something, that means if somebody else already taking it. So I
Right.
just say IK. So just easy for me to do,
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very cool. How do you say your name in Chinese?
It's QING. It's so in Mandarin, it's called Qing.
Qin.
Qing. That's right.
Understood. We have a son we adopted. I think you may have met him at the conference. I'm not sure. Ty. He's from the Jilin province. We adopted him as an infant.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we adopted internationally 3 times, and we just felt like God led us to that as the way to start our family. So our first child was Russia. We've been to Guatemala as well for our only daughter, and then Ty. I'm looking at him actually through the front window right now. He's out there doing some yard work. He loves doing yard work. Works with his brother in his landscaping business. But yeah, well,
That's amazing.
it's great getting to know you a little bit, and I want to make sure we provide some really good value to the listeners today who are saying, "Okay, I'm trying to grow an Amazon business. What is it that these tools do?" Let's dive into some of the practical here. Unless you had any more background story that you want to share with us, I love the history though.
So actually, you mentioned eBay. I
Yeah,
have eBay for a long time, but as part of the Amazon seller, I sell a lot of shoes. So you can imagine there are a lot of returns. So I accumulate all those returns in my garage. And way back then, as I mentioned, my kids tell me to wash, clean, and sort the quarter from the candy machines. So when I'm looking at all the shoes in my garage, another idea came about because they have grown. I say, "Hey, guys, can you help me to take picture of all of them and then using a tool just to list them on eBay? So let's get the garage, the space, get the space back." So they help me I pay them, right? So, and clean up the garage. And then it helped move my status as an eBay seller to whatever the badge that is, right? So that's just another experience when I am looking at the Amazon thing. It's just like not just me, but also it's a great tool, great way to have a conversation with our children, and then potentially can teach them early on the e-commerce concept.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit extra right there. Yeah, so let's dive right into the software development. But for that, I have to say, because I'm always about efficiency, and I, with my engineering background in the hardware, but will always tingle with software. You need to, when you're doing the bring up, you want to make a piece of a hardware work, you need to bring in the software, the firmware. So we have to kind of hack our ways through, just know enough about software in order to make the hardware work. And because of that, I started developing software for OA, because I very specialized in the OA sourcing only, right? And I believe the goal is in the niche. So been doing this for more than a year now. I did multiple software beforehand, but this is the biggest one that I think really meeting a demands among the Amazon seller who are doing online arbitrage. So that's the beginning of the quick find extension.
Okay. Well, talk us on, and this is obviously podcasts, so we can't really do demos, but talk us through who might consider using this tool and how they might use it. And again, like I mentioned earlier, and probably in the intro as well, we've got a good number of coaches on our team now who are using it, showing it to their students. You've set up a great discount link for us again. The reminder, silentjimdotcom/Q, the letter Q, upper or lowercase should work for you. It takes you straight to the page where it describes this. But who is it for? Talk us through as best you can without having the benefit of like a screen and a demo. Talk me through it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good for people at the beginning and also for seasoned online arbitrage seller. So the reason I'm saying it's good for the beginner is for very good reason. As you can see right here, I have this acronym right there. It provides a map for new seller who is looking into doing online arbitrage. And as you and I know, Keepa has a tons of information. Just look at all the different criteria under product finder. You just overwhelmingly say, what information do I need in order for me to process, analyze a product very quickly, right? So I learned my lesson early on. I told you that early. I was doing a little bit RA, but quickly switched to OA. But with OA, one of the things I can access a lot more data than RA on the little screen, right, with the mobile scanning app. But that actually, I was too consumed with all the data, right? I'm a data-driven guy. So I had the opportunity later on, after I launched the shoe lead list, I was teaching to a group of the parent and teenager how to start selling shoes on Amazon. So they invited me to a gathering in Los Angeles. And part of the trip is to go visit Nike outlet and then just to source Nike shoes from the outlet. So here I am armed with the Scoutify 2 from Inventory Lab and go into the Nike outlet. After 1 hour, when the director came over to say, how many did you get? I was holding only one pair of the Nike shoes, and she has like a multiple stack of them on the sitting on the counter ready to go out.
Right.
I said, I don't only have time to analyze one, but how did you manage to get all those? Aren't you sure you're looking thoroughly on the data? The long story short is they were laughing, right? They say, you can't do that when you're in the store. You need to make a decision just like that and based on the data. And then you need to say buy or no buy, right? So that is the lesson I learned. So I incorporate that into the M.A.P.S, M.A.P.S. That's all the data that you need. Just assuming, even though you're doing online arbitrage, imagine you go to the store, you pick up a pair of shoes or any other product, you scan the UPC, then you see all the data on the mobile app, right? And within very quickly, less than 30 seconds, you need to decide whether you should put it in the shopping cart or not, and you move on. So the same concept, the quick find extension will emulate. So you go to a virtual, let's say Walmart, instead of walking down the physical aisle, you're looking at online walmart.com, all the different department, the different subcategory, just like you go walking down the aisle. The benefit is you'll be able to see all the product and along with its data, Amazon data, at the same time. So the extension will bring the M.A.P.S data directly under each of the product you see in walmart.com, will bring the information to you.
Okay.
So
let me use it in my own, let me put it in my own words, just make sure I'm keeping up with you. And for those who are listening only, we'll go through the letters of the acronym here in a moment. The M.A.P.S, matchability, availability, profitability, sellability. I'll stick it in the show notes too, for those who don't have the benefit of a visual today, because you just kind of got that, your green screen background today. Very helpful for those who are watching on YouTube. But if you're listening only, it'll be in the show notes. But here's what I'm hearing so far is you're giving decision-making data, a red light, green light, almost version of data for websites outside of Amazon. If you're trying to decide to sell a product, so you can be on walmart.com, like you mentioned, and you can see red light, green light type of data right on walmart.com if it meets the criteria that you're going for. Yeah, I'm assuming it's customizable to a degree, correct? Are you pulling some of your data from Keepa as a point of curiosity to me, or is this all your own internal massaging of the data?
We pulling data from Amazon SP API as well as Keepa.
You are pulling from Keepa as well. Very good. So you've got some good stuff right there on the screen, some good depth and analysis. And I can see why people are so excited about this. To really, again, I loved your analogy, and I love you're a visual thinker, as am I. That illustration you gave of walking into a Nike outlet with a handful of other sellers, some of them are piling up shoes, in carts, and you've just analyzed one pair. You don't want to be that online. I love that visual, and I completely agree. Speed, time, it's money. And for me, I'm at the point where with the tools I use and the comfort level I have with sourcing, I need about 30 seconds, sometimes significantly less than that, to make a decision. If it's something I'm probably going to end up buying, I need 30 seconds or so. And I can see everything I need to see. I can ignore all the other data points. I go straight to the ones I need for this type of price point or product, and boom, I can make a quick decision. But it sounds like your tool is another way to go even faster, because you don't have to pull the product over off of walmart.com, or I'm assuming there's other websites as well at this point. You can analyze it right there on the site that you're on. That's beautiful. Yeah, I really like that. What other websites are you on besides Walmart? Not to throw off what you're planning to share, but are you on a good number of other sites as well?
Yes, it's a key component that to make it really work. We have 150 website right now.
Beautiful. Okay.
So all the major site you mentioned, it's on it, supported.
Yep. And here's the thing. Some people might be thinking, well, if I'm sourcing from the same place as everyone else is, that means there's no opportunity. No, when you know how to I've got a whole catalog of ASINs. I post a few examples pretty much every day in our Facebook group. You may have seen it, Quincy, of items that we're sourcing from the easiest imaginable sources, online or retail. But it's an underserved ASIN, meaning anyone else could be hopping on there and selling it at a great price too. I just happen to be the one that knows how to find these underserved ASINs. So I'm not looking at a product and going, is this a good product? I'm looking at ASINs and then finding underserved ASINs. But if I'm able to look through a whole bunch of products to try to spot those underserved ASINs as quickly as possible by starting with a product, that's a great process. It really is. There's so much opportunity here. I really like this. And again, what I'm approached with so many tools, as you might imagine, Quincy, just tools and services and sources and lists. I've said no to easily 300 lead list companies at this point. I'm just like, no. Because you got to bring me some success stories. I got to see that you've been around a while. I got to see that it's working, not just for you and a couple of happy clients, but a good number of people come to our event, make a few coaches happy. Well, you've passed that gap that most people fall into. You've jumped over it. You've got my attention, and I can start to see why. And again, I've honestly never seen a demo of your product. All I know is at least 3 or 4, if not more, coaches on our team have said, yeah, this is good. And a good number more than that of students who met you just a couple months ago at our conference, like, yeah, we're using this tool almost every day, man. It's beautiful. I'm like, all right, it's time to meet Quincy. So that's just a little background for the listeners and even maybe for you as well. And this is why I sound like I don't know about your tool, because I honestly haven't seen the demo yet. So this is good. 150 sites. That's impressive, man.
Yeah,
Rattle
I
off
have.
a few more. Rattle off a few more websites, just people recognize them.
So we have Target, Walmart, Vitacost, Chewy, Zappos, IHERB, Nike.com,
Sure.
and all categories.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
This is a Chrome extension, I take it.
it is a Chrome
Okay.
extension.
Very good. Very good.
So actually, it is the without visual. I think just talking to you, I think it helps to think about really deeper into what this extension actually really for, what the benefit it really is. So if you can see on this side right here, those are the two banners I actually brought to the Proven Conference this year.
Oh, you have
So
pictures of the banners you brought with you. Have you sponsored many events before?
this is the first time for
Was it?
with Proven. This is the first. Yes, I'm
So
going to be next year again.
awesome. You're coming back. That's awesome. So yeah, you've got a picture for those who are listening. And just to remind you, Quincy, about 90% of the people who are going to experience this content are it's going to be audio only. So
That's true.
yeah, you got
That's true.
two really cool banners hanging behind you. And those are the ones you brought to the conference. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I think on it, there's some key benefit for the extension. Number one is the time. So I talked to a lot of people at the conference. Many people, they have a full-time job still. They're starting Amazon on the side, so they have a very limited time. But how did you get the most out of the limited time, 10 to 12 hours a week if you're working full-time? So this extension, the benefit would be, without it, you will, let's say you have 2 hours a day to go sourcing. Probably you go through 200 items. With this extension, you can go through within the same amount of time, 2,000. 2,000. It's by eliminate probably 95% of the leads that do not qualify. What the remaining 5% is the goal that you're looking for. But the key is you have to go through a lot more in order to find the little, right? So that is the key. We did actually study during the development to see how fast this extension can bring in the data, the M.A.P.S data. So on average, if you want to get the full M.A.P.S data manually by yourself, it takes about 4 to 5 minutes per item you see in the store online. But with this one, it's 100 times faster because we pull in the data through the API from Amazon and Keepa. It's almost instantly it's available across multiple products at
Makes
the
sense.
same.
I
So
love it.
now,
And you're not doing a scrape and then compiling a database that we go through later. You are actually on the website, kind of like what many of us are used to already when we're on Amazon. We've got our Chrome extensions, we've got Keepa that pops up, or in my case, I got Rev Seller as well that pops up and shows me what I need to know to see if this is something I should try to go source or not. But you're saying you do that with 150 websites. And
yes.
you can pound through that data so much faster right there on the screen in real time. And it's updating as you go to a new page. It's updating that page with the data, right? Yeah, that's fantastic.
So there are two limitations that we need to know. Number one, it's because we're pulling the data so fast and make it available to users so fast, sometimes you limit by the Amazon, the data feed, there's a limited bandwidth. Because it's so fast, sometimes you will hit the limit. That's why it offers a multi-user capability. That means your team can, up to 3 people can use the extension at the same time to increase the productivity.
Yeah.
However, even though allow you up to 5, but you wouldn't be able to do that because the limitation from the bandwidth.
By Amazon. That's Amazon's limitation, correct? Yeah,
Yeah.
because they don't like people scraping them, which is what makes Keepa so valuable is they've figured out how to scrape them anyway. But if you're going to use a tool, especially, and you want Amazon to cooperate by feeding you their API, you've got to be mindful of those bandwidth limitations. Makes total sense. We're getting a little bit into nerd territory, but I can see why I couldn't just go from page of 1,000 products to 1,000 products to 1,000 products in rapid succession with a team of 10 people with your tool. Amazon's going to go, time out. What's going on over there, guys? And they're going to stop the API feed, right?
Yes. So the second limitation is you and me, the user, because we're able to pull in the data 100 times faster than you would manually do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But we display the data for you, but you kind of go through each one of them to look for the one that you that qualify per your criteria. So we become the bottleneck, how fast we can go through those items, but still, it's still 10 times faster than any method you can have on the market today.
Yeah. Now I know some people, and we find a lot of good ASINs by scraping. I love scraping. We scrape. We've got tools that scrape. I use services that scrape. And I want to be real clear for the listeners' sake. There are at least 50 great ways to find winning inventory. At least. We're not saying this one's the best, that one's better than this one. It depends on your budget, how much time you have, your preferences, your discipline, who's doing the work. Is it a VA or is it you, right? There's so many factors here. But this is the first tool, to my knowledge, the only tool right now, the only tool that our community is embracing that says, okay, we're going to throw the data right on the website. So you can just scroll through and you can see what you need one product at a time. But contrast this, if you will, Quincy, it might be a strange question, but contrast what you've built with, say, a scraping service. And I know what I'm thinking in my mind, what the benefits are of using a tool like this instead of a scraper. But contrast it, if you would, to like a scraping type service where you've got everything is scraped and then here's all the data that's been compiled and you can kind of go through the list and sort the list, for example. Like, I want to sort everything that's above $50 and I want to see everything that meets certain criteria. How is this tool better than something like that? In what ways is it beneficial?
Tool itself, the only thing that is scraped is try to extract the UPC from the website and then identify the selling price, the buy cost, and that's it. Everything else, we go through SP, Amazon API, and Keepa. So that means we're not very heavy in scraping in that sense, right? And compared to other tool, I'm in the community for a very long time, so I know pretty much all the tool being introduced, right? So being mindful of the strength and the ability of those tools that will help me to find the niche that the extension will excel. So what happened is there's no setup ready and needed. You enable the extension. Basically, you input all the discount that the store give you, and then plus the discounted gift card you can find, and then potential cashback for the day if it's available. And then you fire up the extension, go through page by page of the same store. There's no setup unless you want to say, okay, you mentioned earlier, there's a green and red, kind of the visual thing. We do have that. We'll allow you to set up a screening criteria.
Okay.
When we find something that meet your criteria, then we'll give you a green thumb up icon. You can see it visually, right?
That's awesome.
But we don't want to limit user to do that because you and I, we're so gravitate to easy button. So that means if I set it up, I always be looking for the green thumb up and ignore the rest.
Right.
The rest, we're talking about 95% of the product, but there's a hidden gem in those without the green thumb up. For example, Amazon, if Amazon say it's out of stock, then of course the rank will be very high and everything. If you just simply looking for the green thumb up, one of them is the BSR filter. You will not see them. So, but we do have that capability. So going back to say, compared to other tool, this one no setup required. And then we talk about the M.A.P.S data. Maybe it's a good time to mention what that means.
Yeah, we need to go through the acronym, the M.A.P.S acronym. I mentioned it earlier. I'll stick it in the show notes. Let me just tell the listeners what each word stands for. M.A.P.S acronym: matchability, availability, profitability, and sellability. So those are the filters that you're looking at each product. You're putting each product through those filters. to determine if this is, a green thumb up. But I love, before we go down this road, I just want to point out, I love that you said, don't just look for the green thumbs up, because there's a lot of winners out there that you may be going right past. The deeper your knowledge of Keepa and the deeper your knowledge of how Amazon works, I'm going to find a whole lot more winners that don't have green thumb ups, because I've been doing this a while. And once you learn how the different strategies, like the above buy box strategy, for example, the only thing I'm looking at there, if the only thing I know about an ASIN is, for example, that Amazon's been out of stock a handful of times in the last 2 months, and let's say there's only a couple FBA sellers, I don't care what else you're going to tell me about that ASIN. I'm jumping on it with a high price, and I'm probably going to sell some, right? Like, that doesn't seem like enough data points to go off of, but it is. It definitely is. Amazon's coming and going. That means it's a popular ASIN, and they're having trouble keeping it in stock, and there's not enough FBA sellers on it. That means I'm going to put a high price on it, and someone in a hurry is going to buy that product. I'm not talking about winning the buy box. I'm talking about winning sales, right? So no tool can predict future customer buyer behavior, is where I'm going. No one's ever going to create a tool that can predict future customer buyer behavior on an ASIN. There's no way to do that. So you got to use your intelligence and your intuition a little bit along with this data, right? But let's go through the acronym and tell me what the tool's doing in real time very quickly, 100 times faster than you can do it manually. That's incredible.
Yeah. So M.A.P.S, just like a map, you need a map to go from one place to another place. So in this case, I like the acronym because it shows whether you're a new user or a seasoned seller. It shows you what data you always keep in mind when you're looking at every single product go in front of you, right? So number one, logically, when you go to, let's use the Walmart as an example again. You see a product. Can you find a perfect match on Amazon? That's the number one thing. If it's a two different product, then you no need to go through the rest of the analysis, right?
Match. Yeah.
So
I know you
match.
do a UPC match. What else are you doing there to match?
Among the 150 stores, there are a lot of UPC stores that we can find the perfect match. However, there are many stores that do not offer UPC. Then what do? We rely on title and image search. And we do that for you, the heavy lifting. You don't have to use in Google image matching or copy the title over to the Amazon and then try to look for it. The best way manually to do it, I can show you how to do it, but I can show you if you don't use the tool, right? But we actually take care of both. When you see the data, it's already there. So it does need one extra step. That means we'll present the potential match in terms of the multiple images, right? And then you can move your mouse over. Instantly, you see a minimalistic version of the M.A.P.S data in front of you. So you identify that is the match, and then you continue. So we already take care of that part for stores that do not offer UPC. It's very time efficient as well. Now, going back to matchability, because we use the UPC, then let's say we find Walmart is a UPC site, so we find the perfect match for you. Then the next question would be, hey, I have a budget. Can I buy it today? And Walmart can allow you to, on the left side, to say, okay, I only want to see product it's sold by Walmart and then currently have in stock. Once you have those filters set, you have the product in front of you. Then we'll be able to say, basically, it's available because that's why it show up in front of you, right? So availability that you take care of. While you're in the store, you see what Walmart has to offer. No back and forth between different tabs, just to figure out whether Walmart has it in stock for you. Number three, when you find the perfect match, Walmart has a stock. Is it profitable? Logical sense. Now, for me, all this year, I've been doing the chasing the sales kind of a replan model instead of the buy at retail price model. And that's why I'm adding, I go the other way around. I'm adding buying at retail price replan model back into my income stream. That's why I attended the accelerator workshop 2 days before the Proven conference. So I learned what I can and transfer that knowledge to my VA team. So now, when I'm looking at the profitability, because it's all by number, right? Current buy box price, current buy cost, profitable or not, very easy to see. So we'll have the built-in all the calculator, taking into consideration all the discount you can find. So we show you that. Now, let's say you find a product, perfect match, Walmart has the stock for you to buy, and it's profit at least $5 after all the fees. Now you want to look at the sellability, right? That's the S. That means, is Amazon selling it? How many FBA seller? How many FBM seller? Am I restricted to sell it? Does the brand actually has a generic in it? And what is the offer cam graph look like from Keepa? And what's the general Keepa graph 90 days, 60 days, 360 days? What does the price trend look like? Does it have any chance to be the, you can buy and sell at above the buy box, like what you said earlier? And all those things, we put it in for you at one glance, no clicking, actually see everything right there in front of you. Now, I mentioned earlier why it's good for the beginner. Now, the beginner is overwhelmed usually by all the different data, but go follow the maps. All of a sudden, you have a very specific things to look at every time. So even though you don't use the extension, you carry that with you whenever you analyze a product, go through the maps data. Once you go through them, pretty much that is the time you put it in, you save it as a product with high potential to buy. Remember, I don't want you to spend more than 30 seconds on each one. Likely, if you go to any Walmart page, even though you use the Walmart filter on the left side, filter out or only see items that Walmart has in stock and sold by Walmart, you still have hundreds of items to go through. If you get stuck more than 30 seconds on each product, how long are you going to finish 100 of them? You can't, right? So the key is with the MAPS data, you quickly identify those with a high potential, and then you save them, move on to the next. Now, what about those that you save? That is the time you can bring in additional tool. Keeper, Ref, Seller, Seller M, or AC Insight, whatever you use, it's very data heavy, right? But I don't want you to use those tools at the initial stage when you're scouting for product. So they're not overlapping. Some data overlap, but they're two different apps served at different time. So
to me, the visual I'm getting in my mind is this is kind of how you fill your bucket with the hottest potential profitable products. Then you do the finer, detailed research, however you're used to doing it.
yes.
And to answer my own questions, I'm just thinking out loud as you're talking as well. My wheels are turning here. Some of the benefits of taking this approach versus just using, say, a scraped list that someone else scraped and the data is there, and those are valuable. But you're looking at real-time data, right? Like if Amazon's out of stock, they're going to say right there, like their website's updated. This isn't data that was scraped 4 days ago by someone else. It's real-time data. And I also like that no one else is having the experience that you're having with these with these websites where you're sourcing. And what I mean by that is, and I know you know this, Quincy, I'm just kind of educating myself out loud along with the audience today. I put in, like you said, I've got discount card here. I've got, a cash back thing going here. I know I'm going to use my 2% off credit card on this. So I'm plugging all that real-time data in, and it's being applied to the prices shown to me on this page. So I'm getting a unique experience with the data. It's not data someone else scraped or prepared. This is my experience. This is exactly what I'm going to experience with this data. Yeah, very, very powerful tool. This business is nuanced enough that it's very interesting to me, for example, that I could get a product and show you a website and a product and a price. Let's go to walmart.com and we got some $50 product there. And I will show that let's go to the coaches on our team. Let's grab a random 30 coaches on our team and say, would you buy this at this price and try to sell it? Here's the Keepa chart. Here's the data from Quincy's tool. Here's the revs. And 20 of them might say, no, I'm not interested. And 10 of them might say, yeah, I probably would. And one of them might go, are you kidding me? That's beautiful. That's exactly meets my criteria, right? So it's not like there's one set of criteria that determines a good or a bad product. The more you know, and the more you're in that niche even, and the more you know the trends of the seasonality maybe of that product, or the bigger your database of knowledge, the better you get at this game, right? But I see this as being it fills a gap in the research space that hasn't been filled by any other tool. I'd never conceived of something like this, actually, to be honest. I'm very impressed I like the way your mind works, right? You're the guy that took these quarters and doubled their value, turned the quarters into 50 cents just by cleaning them and sticking on a sleeve with your kids. I'm like, man, I should have done that. I could have, because I was making, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 at its peak, maybe. I don't think I ever got that much actually out of that bending route, but it could have been double that. That'd have been awesome. But all you do is clean them and create a little more value. But that's just the way your mind works. And so you've reverse engineered into speeding up sourcing for inventory on retail websites. Well done, man. And I think you're going to get a lot of users out of this. I certainly hope you do after this podcast. But I love your maps analogy. Well, again, we'll stick that in the show notes for folks who weren't unable to follow it, listening only. But basically, we call it the 3-step check around here a lot of times. You were exposed to that. You said you attended our accelerator workshop. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, is this viable? Yes or no? Let's go through my process. Is this something I'm going to test? In your software is helping speed that process up, man. I love it. Well, I know you could talk about your own product, a lot, and you should, and it's beautiful. And I can't wait to dive in myself and try it after this interview. I think my team may already be in that process. But what else are you really wanting to get off your chest today? What else are you wanting to talk about as we start to wrap this up? Because I am running out of time, unfortunately.
Yes, I want to mention two things. Knowing the traditional replen, buy at retail price, that's called, you go from the keeper product finder in reverse sourcing, finding the online store carry them.
Right. So you find the ace and then you go look for the product, reverse. Right.
Yeah. So the extension is a forward sourcing. You begin with the store and then you go to the Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. However, a big advantage, a most powerful thing with the extension is called the rapid trailing. So let's say just recently, in one day, I found 30 buy at retail price replen one day because we're using the extension. So what happened is I was doing the reverse sourcing from Keepa using the Keepa product finder. And all of a sudden, after going through a lot of product, I hit on one. And I realized I can buy this one at retail price at this particular store. Then the next thing would be, what about other product under the same brand in the same store?
At that same store.
It so happened that store is supported by the extension. And guess what's going to do next? I simply click the brand and then have the store display all the product under that brand. And I bring in the extension, I can see among 321 product under that brand. Within a few minutes, I can see which one I can buy at retail and sell on Amazon for a profit. Without the extension, 5 minutes each, it would take me multiple hours just to go through that. So that's the power for rapid trailing. And number two,
that's a beautiful illustration. And for people who didn't follow that, I just encourage them strongly, rewind 90 seconds and listen to that again, 2, 3, 4, 5 times if you have to, because that's a powerful process you just described. Because everyone says, well, my favorite way is to do it this way. Like, okay, what if you could do it both ways, tackle it from both ends and kind of bounce back and forth really fast instead of reverse engineering, or instead of just reverse sourcing, or instead of just starting with the product. What if we combine the power of the two? I've never heard anyone talk about it that way before. That was good.
Yes. So number two has something to do with it. So the key thing is you're looking at if anyone using a lead list from anyone, right? Even your own lead, right. You're sitting on a pile of a gold mine. So what happened is if you look for any item on the lead list, if you notice there's no sales or promotion associated with that particular item. Now that is a big light bulb for you to say, what if, follow the example I just mentioned, hey, this thing's profitable with no sales and no promotion. It's still profitable. What about other product of the same brand? That's exactly what you need to do. You bring up your lead list, how always it doesn't matter. Look for those leads and then bring in the extension. Just comb through 100 of them. You'll be surprised. the whole 1 to 100 ASIN in 6 month thing, probably you can get it done within a month if you, you do that. So that is something I want to mention for lead list and then the extension. The third one I want to mention, the way I see online arbitrage as people grow, three things. The lead list to get you started off the day very quickly, and then you use the extension to go through them. You're not buying directly today from the lead list, but you find the other product using the extension through the rabbit trail from the lead.
Yeah. Do you actually call it rabbit trail in the tool?
In the tool somewhere, I mentioned it.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but that's how you use it. That's what I recommend. For example, a layer never buy any. Well, usually don't buy directly from the lead list, but he just go using TA to find its own, right? So that's exactly the same concept. I recommend. I give you a lead list. Don't buy it today, but if you want to, it's okay. But guess what? You're going to follow the rabbit trail, find what you need for the day, fulfill your budget. But if you want to go back 1 month earlier, the lead list, those are the ones that people probably are not looking at. And then you buy those, right? But at the end, you don't want to do it yourself. You pass the lead list, the extension onto your VA. They do the heavy lifting. So that is the concept, 1, 2, 3. So that's why I want to work on the third part of it. It's the VA program right now. And so for today, I think that's the the things that I want to share with everybody.
I love it. And I know we could go so much further and deeper. What I want to do is I want to book you. We have monthly Proven Amazon course in-depth trainings. I want to book you for one of those as soon as possible. Okay. So you can do a demo and we can jump on with Proven Amazon course students and really do a deep dive, those who understand the basics of the REPLENS model. And I love that you invested in not only coming to our Proven Conference as a sponsor, but you attended the workshop as well. You dug into the details there of what we're doing, because we really are on the cutting edge of sourcing as many profitable and test-worthy ASINs as possible using the right tools, the right data. We don't want to waste your time. And you're on the cutting edge of kind of pushing that envelope out. Our bubble of knowledge keeps growing, and you're one of these guys pushing on the edges right now. I can see that now that I've spent some time with you. And I can see why all of our coaches were so excited. Like, you've got to get this guy into your circle. And I'm so glad you are, Quincy. So we're going to get you into the Proven Amazon course monthly training webinar, and we'll record that and create it, make that a content and push folks push even more people into using your tool. I love that it's a different experience for every user. I love that. I mean, to me, that's a big sales point for you. If you're not using that sales point yet, it's the marketer in me. Like, finally, a sourcing tool that gives a unique experience to every user, depending on what website you happen to be on. And I got to imagine that 150 websites will soon be, 200, 300, whatever it is. You're going to keep expanding, right? Because it's a Chrome extension. It can go anywhere. I just love spending time with you, man. Brilliant ideas. I think this is an episode that newer sellers might feel a little confused, a little head scratching moment, like, what's going on here? You need to learn the basics of REPLENS. All starts to make a lot more sense then. And the bottom line is, this is me talking to the listeners, Quincy, is we want to help you find great stuff you can sell really fast with as little pain and risk as possible. This is a tool that's kind of stepped to the front of the class lately of helping folks do that. And I'm looking forward to working with you more, Quincy.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for the time. I think it would be a great tool for people doing the online arbitrage. It's a great I just finished listening to the 3 podcasts by Robin on the 7 core competence.
Yeah, we've got 3 of the series done so far. You've been listening to those?
I pull all 3 using AI to summarize all of them together, and I get it. I totally appreciate that's how important the foundation is. I really enjoy it. So, and
awesome. I love that you're a seller, and just I love how long you've been around the community. You told me a story before we hit the record button today. How did you find our community? What was your first engagement with our community? You told me about it.
It is
when you got the course. Yeah.
Jessica. Jessica LaRue.
Right, but you told me when you were getting the Proven Amazon course.
Oh, yes. that was I was listening to the podcast, and through when I learned the FBA things, obviously in Jessica's Facebook group, she will mention like what other group that she's in, and mention the your group, right? So I just okay, I'm all about like testing new tool, connecting with the right people. So I just can't wait. So that's how I reach out and do a study and research on your group, and then I said, I look at the pack. I mean, it's just a good deal, right? I mean, you just get the free course after, when something is introduced for a while. I mean, Jim, this guy, why is think so differently? Other people charging a lot of money, but he said, you get it for free, just for one-time fee, you get in, right? So that caught my attention. So that's how eventually it leads to me say, okay, you know what? I'm just go ahead and get the pack and follow later on by joining the coaching program, right? So that's how I get connected with you. I didn't expect actually you reply directly to me. I was expecting one of your people that in the organization, but I was pleasantly surprised that you reach out directly, personally, and say, "Hey, you know what? For the hassle, let me just get you in." Right? So I was like, this gets stuck in my mind, just like I still have one candy machine in my garage, just so that I remember how I started the business journey in a very humble way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's how I get in touch with you. And then ever since then, I've been following you. And when I do exercise, I always remember you are a runner. You always go out and run to say, I want to do the same. So it's about power of a proximity. The people that you are in close relationship with, then you just get inspired, right? So yeah, I appreciate for the time. Finally, I will be able to talk to you to have something again as a seller. People ask me, why don't you go big in sales? I am on average 500K a year in sales, but I net 5,000 after all the expenses. That's all I need. That's pretty much I make when I was with my engineering job after all the fees. But I want to stay in the trenches, just in the OA, so I understand all the pain points. So
Right.
whatever I develop, whenever I talk to people, I totally understand what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I continue to continue as a seller. I want to tweak the system, become more efficient, so that I don't spend more, but I'm able to squeeze more profit out of it. That's my goal. If I can do it, I just show people how to do it in 4 hours a day. When they get to that level and get net 5,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much. I mean, a lot of people are not there yet, right? To be honest with you. And so that takes a lot of failures, over the course of 10 years for me to get to that point. So I want to say, with the software, with my experience, I think it's a big way to return, to give it back to the community. Now, just between you and me, yes, 2 days ago, Roger Dunn, you did an interview with. He's operating a faith ministry in the country of Laos.
Right.
And he reached out to me. He said, I'm thinking about have a VA program built in Laos so can help the people
Yeah.
there.
You talked about that on the show. It's been about 30 or
Yeah.
40 shows ago. I don't remember the exact number, but yeah,
Yeah.
great guy.
So he reached out to me, and we tried to see if we can get something going on the training side of the things.
Mhm.
So those things that we want. It's when I talk to people about your group, I say, you know what? I've never seen any Amazon group that have so many people of faith, and yourself included. Right? It's so unique.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's one. I think if God's calling people to do something great in the e-commerce space as an individual, what can I do? How can I take part in the whole thing? If God's calling me to do something, then I'm willing to. So I mentioned earlier, I had the trip to the Nike outlet with a group of people.
Right.
They're a Christian group too.
Okay.
And I thought I saw it as a way to give it back to, like a tent maker for Paul, right? So you have to have an income to sustain the ministry, and also people from other country. Early on in the Proven Conference, the people, the minister, they are the tent maker. They're using Amazon to fund the church planting.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
We have so many people, full-time ministry, and this is how they pay for. I think the whole way that missions is done globally is shifting. And I've that's been a point of emphasis for me for over a decade is we don't need to send out foreign missionaries. Let's send out foreign entrepreneurs. Let's send people to other countries armed with e-commerce skills, and then they can hire people when they get there. And they went because God called them there. But as far as anyone local knows, they're just a successful business owner that's hiring and loving people. There's no better way to impact people's lives than to give them meaningful work that they
That's
can be
true.
proud of, building something together. And yeah, that's powerful. You talk about changing lives, man. That's how you do it. So yeah, I love e-commerce through that lens. And man, so many directions that this conversation could go if we had more time. I have a feeling we're just getting started in our relationship. You and I, your relationship to the community. You've been around a while, but I'm surprised that I wasn't more familiar with you and your story and what you're up to. Just shows you how big these things become. Sometimes I lose track of. I've had our own coaches walk up to me and introduce themselves. I'm like, I'm sorry, I should have known you were a coach with us. But the organization has gotten large enough now that that's just kind of how it is. But we continue to serve with faithfulness. I love your vision and mission. I think you're the heart of what's behind this is come through loud and clear, even for those who just listened today. I do have to go, man. I've got my team waiting on me on a Zoom call right
No
now.
problem. Same here. Got,
But
got things to do.
yeah, very busy, but man, so much opportunity. God bless you, my friend. It's great hanging out with you, Quincy. And we'll get you in the Proven Amazon course training monthly webinar as well very soon. All right.
Sounds good.
Very
I'll talk
good.
to you later then.
Thanks for your
Thanks for
time.
the time, Jim.
If for the listeners that hung out with Quincy and I today, hey, there's some great stuff in the show notes. You want to go visit it, including a great discount link that Quincy set up to all of his tools and resources that we mentioned today. And if you want to come meet Quincy and hundreds of other great people like him at our next conference, it's May 2025, which is a way off, but don't miss it. It's going to be so tremendous this year. There's a link to that in the show notes as well. But God bless the business building warriors. Thank you for hanging out with us today. You're the best part of our show. We're so grateful you're here with us. And we'll have another great episode for you again very soon. Talk to you then.